There were years when the world still did not know the light of electricity. Cities slept under flickering torches, rivers flowed slowly like ancient thoughts, and the sky was only a mystery to be contemplated, not challenged. In such a distant time, a man was born who decided to look beyond. A man who was never satisfied with what he saw. He designed flight when no one dared imagine it. He dreamed of machines when iron was still just a tool. He wanted to understand everything: water, the body, the wind, life. His name was Leonardo da Vinci. But genius is not enough to describe him. He had a mind capable of spanning the centuries, of seeing the future in a world that did not yet know it. An artist, an inventor, a scientist, a philosopher, but above all, a man who never ceased to wonder. Leonardo was born in 1452, in the Tuscan hills of Vinci, a small village surrounded by greenery. The illegitimate son of a notary and a peasant woman, he grew up far from the salons of the nobility. And perhaps it was precisely that freedom, that feeling out of place, that pushed him toward the sky. As a child, he observed everything: the flight of birds, the whirlpools of water, the shadows dancing on the walls at sunset. He drew everything with the patience of one who knows that knowledge is not a race, but a discovery. For Leonardo, understanding the world was an act of love. He studied not to dominate nature, but to dialogue with it. When he arrived in Florence, the city was a crossroads of art and knowledge. The artists' workshops smelled of oil and genius. There, among canvases and chisels, Leonardo began to learn not only to paint, but to think big. He understood that every brushstroke could conceal an idea, every drawing could become a machine. And from that moment, his life became a race against time. Because Leonardo wasn't seeking glory. He was seeking truth. And to find it, he would have to look where no one had ever looked before. Leonardo never stopped. His every thought was a starting point, never a destination. In his notebooks, full of sketches and backward writing, he left thousands of ideas, intuitions, and questions. He wrote not to be understood by others, but to continue to understand himself. He used mirror writing, legible only in a mirror, as if his words, too, needed to be reflected before revealing the truth. He observed the world with the precision of an engineer and the sensitivity of a poet. When he watched a bird in flight, he saw more than just feathers and sky. He saw the mathematics hidden in its movements, the invisible force that held everything in balance. He wanted to decipher nature's secret code, and from that obsession were born dreams that the world would only understand centuries later. He designed machines that seemed to come from another century. Between the yellowed pages of his codices, visions took shape that no one in the 15th century could have comprehended. There was a machine he called an aerial screw, an enormous Lenin propeller, wound on itself, designed to rise into the air. It was, in every way, the ancestor of the modern helicopter. Leonardo imagined that the air was an invisible sea, and that a spiral, if rotated fast enough, could float on it. An impossible idea for his time, but incredibly close to reality. He then designed a tank, a dome of wood and metal, with cannons arranged all around, powered by internal gears. It seemed to have emerged from an iron dream, a mechanical monster that anticipated modern warfare by 4 centuries. For him, it was not a weapon of destruction, but a challenge of ingenuity, an exercise in understanding how man could amplify his own strength. And again, machines to fly like birds. Leonardo studied the beating of wings for years, drawing highly detailed models with levers and tie rods. He imagined himself suspended among the clouds, propelled only by the wind and the dream of freedom. He wrote, "Once you have known flight, You will walk looking at the sky, because you have been there and will want to return. It was more than a project, it was a soul's desire. He also invented a self-propelled vehicle, propelled by springs and gears, a drawing that many today recognize as the first concept of an automobile. No engine, no gasoline, just pure mechanics, imagination, and perfect logic. And then, machines for lifting water, movable bridges to cross rivers, diving suits made of leather and glass, with valves for breathing underwater, the first embryo of the human submarine. Leonardo understood that the mind could reach anywhere, even places the body could not yet reach. Every invention was a step towards the impossible. He drew not only to build, but to understand how nature itself designed. He looked at a seed, a feather, a wave, and from it he drew a universal law. Through lines and notes, Leonardo imagined humanity capable of overcoming its own limits. Yet, many of those projects were never built. Not because they were wrong, but because they were too advanced, too modern for a still medieval world. But his greatness did not lie only in his inventions. It was in his gaze. Leonardo saw what others did not. When he painted a face, he searched for the soul behind the eyes. When he studied the human body, he saw not only bones and muscles, but the perfection hidden within every living being. His study of anatomy, achieved by dissecting bodies in secret, was a silent revolution. He traced veins, organs, tendons, with the precision of a surgeon and the grace of an artist. He wanted to understand the mystery of life, as if every line could reveal its essence. And then there were his works, the Mona Lisa, with that smile suspended between enigma and truth. The Last Supper, which captures the moment when the human soul breaks between faith and betrayal. In every painting, in every drawing, Leonardo searched for something no one could see, the link between the visible and the invisible. In Milan, in the service of Ludovico il Moro, he built war machines and studied musical instruments. He was capable of going from designing a cannon to composing a melody for the lute in the same day. It was as if his brain was a vortex of ideas that never slept. Yet, behind that genius, there also lurked a profound solitude. Leonardo was surrounded by admiration, but few truly understood him. He wrote, "I have offended God and humanity, because my work has not reached the quality it should have." Words that make one tremble, because even the greatest of geniuses, at times, feels incomplete. In the last years of his life, Leonardo retired to France, to the court of King Francis I. He was now an old man, but his mind knew no age. He strolled in the gardens of the Château d'Amboise, watching the flight of birds as he had done as a child. He had lived through an entire century of discoveries and dreams. But the same flame still burned within him. To understand the reason for everything, he still drew. He jotted down notes on the motion of water, on flight, on light, as if he wanted to grasp the last secret of the world before leaving. He no longer sought glory, but the peace of knowledge, and perhaps in those silent days, he had truly understood what it means to be a genius, to no longer know where curiosity ends and life begins. Leonardo died in 1519, in the arms of the king who considered him a friend. He was 67 years old. He left behind an immense legacy, thousands of drawings, studies, works, and ideas that still speak to us today. But above all, he left a question: what would we be capable of doing if we looked at the world through his eyes? Because Leonardo was not just a painter or an inventor. He was a bridge between what we were and what we can still become. A man who dreamed of flight when the sky seemed unattainable. Who sought perfection knowing he would never find it, but who continued to pursue it anyway. Today we live in the future he imagined. We fly, we build, we explore, yet we often miss his curiosity and his wonder. Leonardo teaches us that true greatness is not knowing everything, but never stopping asking. Every time we look at the sky and dream of surpassing it, every time we draw something new, every time we try to understand despite the mystery of what surrounds us, that dream lives on. Not in his paintings, not in his codices, but within us. Because as long as there are men and women capable of dreaming, Leonardo da Vinci will never truly be dead. If you want to continue traveling through extraordinary stories and dreams, subscribe to the channel.